Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good afternoon, I would say. So welcome to our webinar on ENTSO-E's annual work program 2026. Also on behalf of my colleagues, a very warm welcome. Thank you for being here. To explore the rules of the game, can you please switch to the next slide? So regarding the organizational details, we scheduled the webinar for approximately 1.5 hours. That means we aim for an interactive discussion, but all participants, please stay muted until I give you the floor. If you have a question, please raise your hand, and then I will give you the floor. We try to answer all the questions now in this session, but if something remains open, or if you have to leave something open, we will for sure answer bilaterally online later. For transparency reasons, we have to record this meeting, and if you object, please let us know. Thank you again for being here. Enjoy the discussion. And the floor is now to Rafael to explain the process of creating our annual work program as the first topic. And after that, we will go through this annual work program topic by topic for more detailed discussion and exploration. Thank you, Rafael, for being here. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Eva. So good afternoon, everyone, again. So the annual work program is a mandated deliverable that ENTSO-E publishes every year. In this document, we focus on the mandates that are given to both TSOs and to ENTSO-E by the different European Union regulations, directives, and network codes, and the related methodologies. The annual work program is a process that goes on during the entire year. So right now we're working on the annual work program 2026. And the process that we launched earlier this week is the public consultation. And we have published the draft annual work program on our website. And during the month of July, it is open for comments. So we encourage you to read it and to go through it and provide us with input. This is very valuable to us, and we will respond to all the comments we receive. So if you go to our website until the 1st of July, you can find it there, and we look forward to receiving your feedback on the annual work program. The process so far that we have undertaken is to start internally preparing the draft list of tasks on which we build the text of the annual work program. And this list was already available for a public pre-consultation earlier this year. With the comments we received, we continue to work on the draft text, which is now open for public consultation. And upon approval by different ENTSO-E decision-making bodies, both the board and the assembly, it will be submitted to ACER by the end of the year before it's published in December. And then next year, we will begin the process again for the annual work program 2027. Thanks so much. And now we can already move into the first topic of the network codes and guidelines implementation.
Thank you, Rafael. So far, I do not see a question. For the ones who came later, please raise your hand in case of any question. We aim for an interactive discussion. Okay, I do not see raised hands. Then the first one would be to look into operations. For system operation guideline, James, could you please explore?
Yep. Good afternoon, everyone. So my name is James Hellings. I'm the Regional Coordination Manager at ENTSO-E Secretariat, and I will give you an update on the operations network codes and guidelines. So we can move to the next slide, please. So the first network code I will be talking about is the system operation guideline. And I will focus first on the probabilistic risk assessment methodology, where we will be building a proof of concept for the development of the methodology. And actually, this work will continue until 2027. Also, for your information, a report on the progress of the methodology is published every 2 years, and the next report will be published end of 2025. Then regarding the publication of annual reports, so we will have 2 annual reports published here. The first one, which is on the incident classification scale, and the second one, which is about the load frequency control. Regarding network codes, guidelines, and methodologies, so here we will have regular alignment activities to ensure consistency between the system operation guidelines and other network codes, such as, for instance, the network code on demand and response. And also, we will ensure that the regulation is up to date by identifying needs for amendments in both the SO system operation guidelines and other methodologies, such as the common grid model methodology or the coordinated security analysis methodology. Then regarding the emergency and restoration network code, we will have regular meetings with TSOs to coordinate and align on the implementation of these network codes. And also here we will actually ensure consistency between this network code and other network codes, such as the system operation guidelines that I mentioned. And then also we will ensure that the regulation is up to date by identifying needs for amendment when necessary in these network codes. So that's it for me. And if there aren't any questions, we can move to the next slide.
Which is Ludivine for the market part, I think. Yes, thank you. Ludivine, the floor is yours.
Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Ludivine Marsenac. I am working for ENTSO-E as a market integration manager, and I will guide you through the market network codes. So we firstly are working on the forward capacity allocation, so the long-term time frame. And we will be working next year still to implement the long-term flow-based capacity allocation, which is twofold. First fold is the development of a capacity calculation by the concerned regions, so core and Nordic, and the development supported by an allocation tool with the help of the single allocation platform to allocate with flow-based. Then we will work as well on the harmonized allocation rules as part of a biennial review. The methodology has to be reviewed every 2 years, so we will start the work for amending it in 27, end of 2026, so end of next year. And we are still working as well next year in the assessment of the long-term market and the amendment of the FCA regulation. The plan is to have it approved mid next year, so we will support the work on this with the help of all the TSOs. Then if we move to the DEVED and intraday timeframe, which are governed by the capacity calculation and congestion management, we are working and we will be working on implementing the CSCM regulation amendment. So this year is the regulation is amended, and it might be enter into force beginning of next year. So we are preparing for implementing this. We will be also working on the congestion income distribution methodology, and more specifically on the effect of the cross capacity calculation region that have effect to each other with the advanced hybrid coupling, and we will also assess the results of this implementation. Then on the capacity calculation region, we will need to have an assessment of the configuration of the capacity calculation region 3 months after the implementation of the first regional operational security coordination in core. So depending on the timeline, we might start as well next year. Then just a reminder, we have been submitting this week actually the intraday gate opening and gate closure time for a closure time 30 minutes before delivery, and it will be implemented in January 2026. So we will follow up on that as well. In the next slide, we are moving to the balancing time frame, and then on this aspect, we are working and we will be working as well next year on the co-optimization, and it consists of research and development activities for integrating the co-optimization into the price coupling algorithm. Then we will review the rules for the settlement of unintended and unintended exchange of energy, so FSCAR for the one who knows the abbreviation. This review will be within synchronous area and between synchronous areas. Then we are also following up on the European balancing platform and their continuous implementation. And we have several important assessment plans for next year. Then the first one will be the efficiency and effectiveness assessment of the European balancing platform, the cooperation of the alternative control model for automatic frequency restoration, and the assessment of the need for further harmonization of the imbalance settlement. In the next slide, we have a special focus on the network on demand response, which has not entered into force, but it's planned for the next month. So ENTSO-E, in cooperation with the EU DSO entity, will follow up on this mandate and will prepare the work for drafting the union-wide methodologies, for conducting the preparatory work for the constitution of a baselining methodology registry, and closely cooperating with the relevant organization to draft, improve, support the development of standards, and cooperate with ESA as well for the establishment of the European Stakeholder Committee on Demand Response. The acronyms will be DRESC, and it will be live in the coming month as well, second part of this year. So we will follow up on that as well next year. And I think I am passing the floor to my colleague Nijat, that will present the transparency platform.
Yes, thanks, Ludwin. Hi, everyone. I'm Nijat, working on the transparency platform on ENTSO-E side as market advisor. And I will give a short update on what we can expect to come live in the transparency platform in 2026. So first, in line with the transparency regulation, we regularly update the manual of procedure for the platform based on the new requirements and improvements to the publications. We are adopting a new version 3 release 5 this year, and the technical implementations for this will follow throughout the year into 2026. And in parallel, we are also working on a subsequent release for this manual of procedures, version 3 release 6. Adoption and implementations will be done during next year. And as usual, the market parties will be informed through usual channels and user groups. As you might know, we are also working on the new version of the transparency platform, updating the backend architecture and the user interface. And it will come live this year, but continuous improvements based on the feedbacks and further improvements, suggestions from the stakeholders will follow in next year. In addition, we might have also some changes coming related to the new remit. At the moment, we are waiting on the release of the implementing regulation and implementing acts later this year. And we will assess if any changes will be needed on the platform based on these new requirements and do the implementations accordingly later. Then on the guidelines on the electricity balancing and forward capacity allocation regulations, we developed the requirements for additional data provisions to Acer within the restricted part of the TP for data delivery. And the technical implementations and go live will follow next year for this as well. And finally, on the last 3 points, based on the market committee vision for the platform into 2030, we are working on 3 parallel work streams, namely the reinvention of the mobile app, improvements to the data quality, and closer engagement with the users. The new TP mobile app, which will replace the existing one, is planned to come live next year, which will have newer functionalities and ways of engagement for the users and ease of access. On the data quality initiatives, of course, it's a continuous work, but also we are updating the memorandum of understanding for new data monitoring checks and new dashboards to follow up on the data delivery. And we have also launched new user groups for increasing the engagement with the market parties on the transparency platform related projects and collaborating closer with them on the new functionalities and improvements, as well as introducing a new knowledge base in line with this strategic actions for Vision 2030. All of these implementations will follow throughout the years, not only in 2026, but we can also expect the deliveries in this direction, as mentioned in this slide. In a nutshell, this was the expected deliveries for Transparency Platform. If there is any questions, we can answer in detail later.
Yeah, thank you, Nishat. For the moment, I do not see a raised hand. So, seems everything is clear. Next topic on the agenda would be the network code on cybersecurity and specifically its implementation. Ron, I think it's your floor now.
Thank you, Eva. My name is Ron Wibbeling. I am the convener of the working group on the network code on cybersecurity, and I will give you an inside view into our planned activities for the next calendar year 2026. Let's go to the next slide, please. As you are probably aware, the network code on cybersecurity itself already entered into force on 13th of June last year, 2024. Nevertheless, there is quite some detailed requirements stemming from the network code that is being developed at this very moment, as well as next year, which is a collaboration of the TSOs with the assistance of the ENTSO-E and in close cooperation with the EU TSO entity. Our main focus points for 2026 are, first of all, we will perform a feasibility study that looks into a common tool that can be used by all entities for reporting their security incidents, which is a requirement that they need to do within the network code. The second item for next year is developing procurement recommendations for substation gateways. This is a kind of advisory documentation for entities which they can use, in which standard practices especially from a security point of view, are listed and can help entities in speeding up their requirements for procurement. Similar document we'll be working on is also procurement recommendation, but then for SCADA systems. Again, this is based on the security requirements coming out of best practices already from multiple TSOs and DSOs, which we'll combine and make available for the entire community. Then there is in this year, in this autumn actually, a new European stakeholder committee being raised by Acer. For that, we will support Acer on it, both from an organization point of view as well as content-wise. Then earlier this year, the first methodology stemming from the Network Code on Cybersecurity, the so-called Cybersecurity Risk Assessment Methodology, has been finished, has been finalized, and is at this moment under review by the national regulatory authorities throughout Europe. We expect approval of this methodology end of this year or Q1 next year, but we will already start preparation for the execution of the first union-wide cybersecurity risk assessment based on this methodology. And last but not least, also one of the requirements stemming from the Network Code is the organization of cybersecurity exercises for your crisis management organization and support organizations within your entity. And we will prepare templates that can help organize and executing such cybersecurity exercises, which will be happening and organized on both an entity as well as a national and even European level. That's it from my side. I'll be happy to answer any questions if they are.
Seems to be everything fully self-explaining, Ron. Big thank you also for your time.
Thank you.
To complement on our legal mandates, we still have the connection network codes. And that's not Mario, but Marco today, right?
Yes. Good afternoon, everybody. So, regarding the amendment process of the connection network codes, in December 2024, Acer published its recommendation to the European Commission on the amended version of the network code high voltage direct current connections, which basically represents the last action from Acer's side to develop a proposal on the 3 connection network codes to be amended. So to have more future-proof connection requirements in place. So now all the 3 recommendations on each of the connection network codes are published from Acer's side. The responsibility on the adoption of these amended codes is now under the European Commission side. That's why ENTSO-E plans to support and actively participate to the so-called Have Your Say consultation that will be launched by the European Commission on the network code requirements for generators in 2026, and similar consultations will be launched afterwards by the Commission, although the exact timeline is not known yet. Of course, the adoption of this amended version of the connection network codes lead to a very important work from ENTSO-E side, which is related to the development, drafting, publication, and consultation of the so-called implementation guidance documents. So in 2026, just to give some examples, we will focus on some new topics, for instance, on grid forming and on force oscillations. Of course, according to the available resources, we will also focus on the update of the already existing and already published implementation guidance documents to be, of course, aligned with the new requirements or updated requirements included in the amended versions. Yeah, the last activity is linked to the collection of some data related to the monitoring of the implementation of the current version of the connection network codes. So we will deliver to Acer the yearly information that we normally collect from the TSOs related to the assets that are compliant or non-compliant to the existing network codes. And that's all from my side.
That was quick and obviously self-explaining, because still I do not see any question or any raised hand. Yeah, thank you, colleagues. To continue. So beyond the legal mandates, ENTSO-E always has performed and is still performing also plenty of other important tasks people are maybe not that aware of. Yeah, but this year they are also reflected on in the annual work program and therefore also part of our webinar. Mainly here, operational readiness, electricity market design, regulation and finance, of course, grid development, innovation, not to forget, and also the offshore aspects of innovation. Yes, so it's definitely worth to spend time on that. And to look into details, the first one is for James, no? Operational readiness and resilience.
Thank you, Eva. So I have the pleasure to take the floor again, so we can move to the next slide, please. So yeah, first a few words about the regional coordination centers, and more precisely about regional coordination. So regional coordination was the first legal mandate in the system operation guideline with 5 core tasks, which are the common grid model, the outage planning coordination, the short-term adequacy, the coordinated security analysis, and the coordinated capacity calculations. And these 5 core tasks are performed by the RCCs, or regional coordination centers. So today we have 6 regional coordination centers. So you can see them on the map, which is on the right-hand side of the slide. And so the 6 RCCs are owned and appointed by the TSOs to deliver these legally mandated tasks. So I mentioned that they started with delivering 5 core tasks, but due to the change in the regulation, now they will, or at least in the future, they will have to deliver 16 tasks in all. They also will, the RCCs also provide recommendations to TSOs that contribute to minimize risk of wide area events such as blackouts, for instance. And in 2026, well, they will be focusing on the implementation of the tasks, part of these 16 tasks, which are not implemented yet. I will now give a bit more information on one very important task, which is the common grid model. So the common grid model is a key enabler for security of supply in Europe. And the common grid model actually is built by the RCCs who receive individual grid models from the TSOs, and so the RCCs will and are actually merging these individual grid models in a common grid model, which is covering time frame from 1 year, to 1 hour before real time of operations. And as I already mentioned, this common grid model is actually a key input for other tasks delivered by the RCCs, which are the coordinated capacity calculation and the coordinated security analysis. And so in 2026, actually, the focus will remain on delivering a fit-for-purpose common grid model, as this is, as I mentioned, a key input for RCC tasks. And this will be done with the support of what we call the Common Grid Model Action Plan under the guidance of the System Operations Committee. If there aren't any questions, I will move to this slide. So regarding the European awareness system, so you must know that the EAS, as we call it, has been enhanced with new functionalities. And in 2026, the focus will be set on the integration of data coming from the Wide Area Monitoring System, or WAMS, as we call it. And also the focus will be actually set on future developments that will include new functions based on data coming from the WAMS. Regarding the implementation of grid incidence recommendations, so we will progress the implementation of recommendations of the 2021 Scale 2 grid incident, and also start the implementation of recommendations derived from the 2024 Scale 3 incidents. Then last topic, which is the system operation stakeholder engagement. So here we will continue coordination with third country TSOs, namely Model Africa, where guidance will be provided for implementation of rules applicable in the synchronous area continental Europe. Then with TEAS, where close cooperation will continue, as we already have a long-term agreement in place. And then also with COST, where close cooperation will continue to ensure the secure operation of the continental grid. That's it for me. And if there aren't any questions, I think I will give the floor to my colleague, Marco Foresti.
Thank you, James. If you may allow me to please underline that all these measures presented enhancements aiming for enhanced system resilience. Yes, the more complex our system gets, the more important it is to work and to improve our existing and well-established regional coordination, CGM, and so on, towards an enhanced system resilience. So this will definitely be a growing topic in future. Yeah, and a challenge that is underrepresented in the legally mandated tasks. To work on that.
Thank you.
So thank you, James.
You're welcome.
Next one is electricity market design.
Yes.
It's again Marco.
Thank you, Eva and James. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Marco Foresti, Market Design Manager. So we'll give you a summary of the planned activities for next year in the area of electricity market design, which complements the work that our colleagues do in the implementation of the network codes. So first of all, the first category, we'll look at capacity mechanism and this new category introduced by the electricity market design regulation, the non-fossil flexibility support schemes. For both these schemes, there is actually new state aid rules introduced just last week by the European Commission as a part of the Clean Industry State Aid Framework. So we will follow up the implementation, how member states at national level implement those rules by applying for specific mechanisms. So monitoring the developments at national level or capacity mechanism, non-fossil flexibility support schemes, with the aim to share best practices, also on how the design and implementation challenges are being dealt by our TSOs, which are often part of the design and implementation of these mechanisms. We will also look at the interactions between these mechanisms, because if you're familiar with the topic, assets like storage or demand response, they could participate to both mechanisms. So there are some potential interactions on how to procure the capacity, what is the effect on the business case of different technologies given by these mechanisms. Last but not least, in this space, we also have one small legal mandate, which is to monitor and report the implementation of cross-border participation to capacity mechanism, which is something that ENTSO-E facilitates. Then in the area of renewable support schemes, such as two-way contract for differences, and also with regards to power purchase agreements, or PPAs as they're often named, we will follow up to the work that the Commission is planning. Namely, they have announced already for this year some guidelines on the design implementation of two-way CFDs and the coexistence with power purchasing agreements. So we will look at this Commission work and possibly react or share views with our members on how to implement those guidelines at the national level. We will also continue monitoring the effects of RES support schemes and related regulation on markets, market efficiency, and system operation. For instance, looking at how these rules may affect price formation. As you may be aware, we're seeing an increasing number of negative prices around European countries. So we think some of this can be limited or mitigated by efficient design of these schemes. So we will continue our research in these aspects. Then on congestion management, redispatch, and market integration in general. So we believe there's a number of market design solutions, some of which are in the hands of more in the hands of TSOs, other more in the hands of regulators, or depending on national or European regulation. So what we are doing already this year is looking in all the wide spectrum of possible tools, market design solutions and regulations. So we call it toolkit, and so we are developing a ENTSO-E long-term vision on this congestion management toolkit. Lastly, we know that the Commission has the possibility to review the electricity directive and the regulation. So if that would be trigger, of course, we will keep our eyes open and try to come up with some suggestions from TSOs and ENTSO-E point of view. Thank you. That's it for now.
Thank you, Marco.
Happy to take questions if there are, of course.
Seems not, unfortunately, but if everything clear is also fine, yeah, at least for now. Then we move on to how to pay all this, or how TSOs get financed. Economic regulation as one of our key topics from TSO perspective. Ignacio, please explore.
Thank you, Marco, and good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ignacio Ochoa, and let me walk you briefly through some of the projects that we have in the pipeline for 2026. So we have 3 blocks to present you today, starting with the first one on the inter-TSO compensation mechanism, maybe an agreement known by most of you. So an agreement between ENTSO-E, its member TSOs, in addition to other parties like COST, National Grid DSO, and Energo, the Ukrainian TSO, who joined in 2024, mid-2024. It's the agreement or the framework that TSOs use for compensating for costs associated to hosting transit flows. So when it comes to the tasks that are in the pipeline for 2026, ENTSO-E and the TSOs will continue to work and publish, like every year, their ITC transit losses data report. Is a requirement of the regulation 838 from 2010. And it may be a familiar report for some of you. It's been published since 2012, if I'm not wrong. And it touches on 2 main points. First, on the methodology of the with and without transit methodologies. So it's the method to calculate the losses caused by the transits. And it also publishes the calculation of this method. And on top of that yearly publication, and as well as the perimeter fee publication, ENTSO-E and the TSOs are still looking and will continue exploring some improvements, some potential changes to the ITC mechanism itself. So that's regarding the first block on the ITC mechanism. If we move to the second one, the one on tariffs, quite a hot topic lately, and it will continue to be in upcoming years. So for 2026, the TSOs will continue to work on the TTO report, the 2024 and the 2025 TTO, so the overview of transmission tariffs in Europe report, which is the report comparing the TSO's tariffs across Europe. On top of that publication, the association will continue to provide some inputs to the ongoing and to the upcoming debate on tariffs design and implementation. I'm moving to the third and last block under this economic regulation and finance session, moving to the financeability topics. Again, the TSOs will continue to provide inputs to the overall discussion around investments in the grid. So So they will continue on the path followed by the grid action plan or on anticipatory investments, but we'll go beyond that and go in general in investments in grids. Will support policy and financial reforms, providing their views. And as a very last point, through their finance advisory group, we'll continue to raise awareness on the opportunities and challenges that the TSOs are facing. And that's all regarding the pipeline for 2026.
Yeah.
Happy to take any question. Otherwise, I give you back the floor, Eva and Emil, as our next speaker.
Thank you, Ignacio. If I may compliment that really a smart economic regulation, yeah, and awareness on TSO's financial challenges is key to a successful implementation. Yeah, any technical project cannot succeed if TSOs don't have the money to get it implemented all over Europe, not only in the middle of Europe. Yeah, that's something that's always often forgotten. Yeah, it's indeed key to success. So enjoy your work. It's really important.
Thank you, Eva. We will.
And often forgotten, yeah. That's out of scope. So also thank you for presenting it here. And
thank you.
Good to have it in the annual work program also, to have a full picture on what keeps us indeed busy in discussions. Next one is a more prominent one. I'm pretty sure everybody is aware of. It's called Grid Development and Extension. So, Emil, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. My name is Emil Tan from ENTSO-E Secretariat, part of the System Development section. So a brief overview on the grid development and extension. So these are one of the core deliverables of ENTSO-E. These are legal mandates. And from our perspective, of course, they are key foundations for the European energy planning. So looking into the first one, the 10-year network development plan, as you know, this is the main ENTSO-E's main electricity infrastructure planning tool. It's published every 2 years. It supports EU-level discussions, decisions on which projects should be prioritized for regulatory support and potential funding. For 2026, the process begins with developing scenarios, of course. These are aligned with EU targets and based on the national energy and climate plans. And of course, this is the basis for identifying system needs and assessing proposed projects. This is then followed by later in the year, Q4, with a future system needs study. So this will look ahead for 2040 and 2050. And this study helps us to identify where cross-border transmission, storage, and offshore infrastructure may be required to support the system cost efficiency and decarbonization efforts. And of course, it goes without saying that each proposed project under TYNDP is evaluated through a cost-benefit analysis. That's also part for Q4. And this considers the economic, social, and environmental impacts. And overall, this helps decision makers to prioritize projects with the greatest system-wide value. Moving on to the second project, again, a legal mandate. That's the European Resource Adequacy Assessment, known as ERA. So ERA looks at whether the electricity system has sufficient capacity and flexibility to meet the demand over the next decade. So for the 2026 edition, which is expected in November, it will be based on the existing approved methodology. There's also a revision of the ERA methodology in line with the regulation 2024. So this is there was a stakeholder consultation planned on this year, and the updated methodology, of course, will be implemented in ERA 2027 and onwards. In between, of course, we will still use the insights and the feedback provided in the previous 4 ERA cycles, and we will incorporate them in the future work. Moving on to the seasonal outlooks, of course, these are shorter term assessments. They're published ahead of each summer and winter period. What they do is they identify potential risks to system adequacy under severe or exceptional conditions. So it could be extreme weather or unplanned outages. And these assessments, of course, they use ACER approved methodology with inputs from TSOs, demand forecasts, and climate data. So each report is accompanied by a review of the preceding season. And of course, that overall supports the continuous learning of the system preparedness. If you move on to the data and models, it goes without saying, perhaps all ENTSO-E's assessments rely on robust and well-integrated data. So for the 2026 period, the work will of course continue to improve how market, climate, and grid datasets are integrated across key studies that we identified. A development about this is the launch of a project to generate flow-based domains. The aim here is to enhance the realism as well as the accuracy of the system adequacy modeling, and of course to also better reflect transmission constraints. So that's upcoming. Lastly is a newer area for us to support and to look at, and that's the grid infrastructure and supply chains. So of course we talk about planning, that's critical. There is also the emphasis on the delivery of the infrastructure. So that's becoming more urgent as the energy transition escalates. We have long established challenges. Some are new, some are of course already there. These are the permitting timelines. They are very lengthy. The costs are rising, and overall there are many constraints in the supply chain. One of the most critical bottlenecks identified is the limited availability of key components. In our initial assessment, we identified HVDC converters and power transformers. For example, they have lead times over 4 years. So to address all these challenges, we created a cooperation with EU DSO entity TND Europe and Europe Cable that was motivated by the Grid Action Plan. And now we are working closely with these entities under a joint supply chain roadmap that was published in June 2025. And the roadmap focuses on common approaches on HVDC technical specifications, factory testing for cables, procurement processes, and workforce capacity increase. So all of this collaboration, of course, will continue in the next year, and the progress is expected to be presented at the Energy Infrastructure Forum almost in 1 year's time. So overall, to sum up, of course, the grid development and extension, it's not just about long-term planning. There's many things that we do also, tools, data, partnerships, all are critical and very important to keep the system secure, affordable, and resilient. That's it from our side.
Thank you, Ignacio. Still, I do not see a raised hand. Also to keep efficient and focused, innovation, of course, is key. And complemented by digitalization. So I think I needn't explain why it's important. Seems to be obvious. So we are more than keen to know what's inside and what's in our focus in the coming year. Johannes and Michelle, please explore.
Sure. Thank you, Eva. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Johannes Telogitis. So I'm working as a system integrated manager at ENTSO-E, supporting the Research Development Innovation Committee of ENTSO-E, which has named more cross-cutting competencies, touching upon the business, all the business aspects of the TSO work, and try to identify research priorities and tailor also certain research projects relevant for the business of the TSOs. Those are actually reported in our RDI roadmap, the 10-year roadmap that we published last year. And the focus for the next year will be actually to provide the statistical analysis of the ongoing RDI activities, and will be documented in a monitoring report. So basically to see how closer we come basically to the priorities and the milestones that we have set in the roadmap. And this will be one key report that should be expected next year. Now in the following areas, there are some key pillars and clusters of work. The list is, of course, non-exhaustive, but quite representative. So there is a focus on digitalization. It goes without saying. So ENTSO-E currently works on certain different aspects with digital technologies, smart grids, innovations, digital twins, and so on. For next year, the work will intensify. There is intention to create charts and roadmaps on artificial intelligence and digital twin implementations, trying to assess different use cases in the TSO business. At the same time, we are also working on different technologies and solutions with regard to the, let's say, future control centers and upgrades on the energy management systems. So also integration of PMUs and WAMPs, so phasor measurement units, and wide area monitoring systems that can improve also the decision making of those control centers. And there has been already some work ongoing. Maybe some of you have recently read a recent report from ENTSO-E on vendor agnostic solution. So the work doesn't stop with a report. And we will deepen the discussions, of course, also with the different providers and solution providers. And there will be more coming out also next year on that front. At the same time, there are some forward-looking initiatives also from the Commission, more part of action plans, notably the Grid Action Plan. So we have two actions there. One with regard to the Technopedia, which is a platform that tries to promote the implementation of certain smart technologies and technologies, grid enhancing technologies as well. So practically all kinds of technologies and processes that enhance the utilization and the stability and security of the grid. And the focus will be there, of course, to promote more the application of those technologies and the benefits from applying such kind of technologies. There's a very close work with different stakeholders that they help us also with collecting the right information. In parallel to that, there are other actions focusing on the hosting capacity, which is also quite of a hot topic nowadays. There will be a platform being formed in collaboration with the DSO entity, and the platform will actually act as a single entry point for linking to the national practices and information of how grid hosting capacity is calculated. So it will basically be an easy access to this kind of information, but at the same time, besides the access to the national information, we will provide in a more simple way main definitions and assumptions of how you should understand the numbers that you are looking for. There will be a work on a more second phase to also try to identify good practices within the different member states. Moving on, of course, an important cluster is sustainability. There is a lot of work happening and research happening on new technologies and innovative technologies. There is a work on life cycle assessments and eco-design principles that will continue also in 2026. More about methodologies, and it will be based on key environmental and sustainability data, both at the product but also at the component level. And this is a very, very important work. Also aligned with a certain EC priorities and regulations. At the same time, stability management is one key area. There are a lot of different challenges with regard to operating a future system of systems. with a lot of course, distributed sources and of course inverter-based sources. So there is an ongoing work on that from ENTSO-E with different types of reports and different also triggers and EU-funded projects as well, setups. So this will continue also during the 2026, seeking the right targeted focus areas that we need to deal with, and of course identifying the right opportunities for cooperation. Last but not least, innovation in the HVDC systems. So ENTSO-E has a long work with certain key stakeholders on HVDC systems and also a roadmap to identify innovation gaps. Also on the front of the interoperability, which in the following slides there will be more to say. And the work will continue. It's ongoing and will continue next year on elaborating still on certain aspects with regard to DC networks, particularly stability issues, just to ensure that those kind of HVDC systems that will come in operation will be as robust as needed. Of course, the HVDC reliability is a big domain as well. We are learning through knowledge sharing among our TSO members, and there is a very good knowledge coming forward as well, which will be also available in 2026. That is the key elements from the innovation and digitalization side, and I can give the floor to Michelle. Thank you.
Yes, good afternoon. So I am Michelle Dion, convener of the working group on data interoperability and access. So the first activity related to interoperability is that ENTSO-E has set up the joint working group. So it's a cooperation between ENTSO-E and the EU DSO entity. It was a legal requirement from the first implementing act on interoperability, and basically the joint working group is a body to support European Commission on interoperability topics. So we have worked on the first implementing regulation on access to metering data, and we have also made a proposal to European Commission on the implementing regulation related to customer switching, and we are currently working on the implementing regulation on demand response. We are also launching a website, so it will be the repository for the related to interoperability with the mappings of national practices. So all that is foreseen by the first implementing regulation. In 2026, we will continue the work on the implementing regulation on the demand response with, for example, to support the European Commission for the implementation of this regulation. So we will provide a guidance for the member states in order to do the reporting on national practices. And we will collect all this mapping in the repository that is implementing by ENTSO-E and the UDS entity. Of course, if requested by the European Commission, we will also support the European Commission for new, in case they want to have a new regulation on interoperability. You can go to next slide, please. Regarding harmonization and standardization of the data exchanges, so ENTSO-E is deeply involved in this activity. And for example, ENTSO-E has the responsibility of the electronic data interchange, EDI, and also of the common grid model exchange standards libraries. So ENTSO-E developed a lot of tools for harmonization and standardization of the data exchange and contribute to interoperability requirements as foreseen by the electricity regulation. For 2026, the priorities will be to continue to work on the common information model with the publication of some implementing guides to support network code, and also ENTSO-E is collaborating with the standardization bodies in order to update the standards, the common green model and all the SIM standards. ENTSO-E is also working on the harmonized electricity role model. So now it's a task of the joint working group, but ENTSO-E as part of the joint working group is supporting this activity. Another activity is related to what we call data spaces. So it's a pillar of the data strategy of the European Union. So this data strategy foresee the implementation of data spaces to facilitate sharing of data, and currently there are some work on the European Commission on the implementation of a common energy data space, and ENTSO-E is supporting this work. So all that is part of the action plan on the digitalization of the energy system published by the European Commission. So it's basically the activity of ENTSO-E regarding harmonization and standardization of the data exchange.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Also, big thank you for the detailed presentation. Any questions? Not to be the case. Then we move on to another important puzzle piece of the future framework, which is very important for some TSOs, but has to fit into the total regulatory framework and legal framework of Europe. So this is the offshore projects. So Leah, please explore our roadmap for the future offshore system. What do we have to do?
Thank you, Eva. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Leah de Haute from ENTSO-E System Development Team. So first thing, why an offshore roadmap? And there maybe you can move to the next slide. Why have we been doing this work? So as you may know, EU member states have had to release targets for offshore generation, and we see these targets are extremely ambitious. In 2050, member states expect to see 365 gigawatts of offshore generation, all sea basins considered. That's a lot. In parallel of that, we see new infrastructure developing, hybrid infrastructure that mixes generation and interconnection. So overall, we expect a much more complex offshore system to develop in the coming years. So the question we are trying to address with this roadmap is our regulatory framework fit for purpose to see this future offshore system and to make it happen in a safe and cost-efficient way. So we have been working on this starting last year. We've already two stakeholders workshop and quite a lot of work internally to perform a gap analysis and look at all the possible topics where work might be needed to make sure the framework is fit for purpose. As a first start, we have published an initial version of our offshore roadmap just above a month ago at the start of June this year. For the first version of this roadmap, we have identified six topics that we think for now have to be addressed as a priority. So work has started on these 6 topics, which you can see on the screen right now. So these are to define the geographic areas offshore, to have an offshore balancing framework, to discuss the frequency control, ramping, inertia provision and grid farming capacity, and dynamic stability. So some of these topics are new, like geographic areas offshore. Some are already issues that we see onshore, such as inertia, but they are taking an even new dimension when you see the offshore system and offshore REST coming up. As you may see as well, there are quite a few interdependencies between these topics. For example, between balancing and how we define market and operations areas offshore. Of course, we need to ensure there is alignment and coordination between all of that. As you see on the roadmap on the screen now, most of the work ongoing now and still in 26 is work like preparatory steps internal to ENTSO-E. So what we are doing now is doing an assessment of what is the framework and assessing of whether it is fit for purpose or if changes need to be made. So this is the first step for most topics in light blue on the screen. As next steps, starting possibly as early as mid-26, later for some topics, we, depending on the outcome of the assessment, we will see what, make proposals and start discussing with stakeholders on what should possibly be changed in the regulatory framework to make sure that our system is really fit for purpose. So these are the main steps at the moment. I expect that sometime next year we will work on an updated version of our roadmap. It is not a document that is set in stone. It is meant to be a living document that we would update regularly to update stakeholders on the progress of the work. And possibly we would also explore additional topics beyond the 6, because obviously there are other areas where work might be needed. Security is just one example of those topics. So I cannot give a date right now on when to expect an updated version and a status update on the work that you see here planned on this slide. On this, I expect we should be able to communicate with a bit more precision towards the start of next year. And yeah, I'm happy to take any question if there is any.
Yeah. Thank you, Leah. I do not see a raised hand or question. Yes, that would mean in practice that we finish our tour through the annual work program 2026 and move on to collect some general feedback. And therefore,
we have received a question on the network code cybersecurity. It has been answered in the chat, but our colleagues, I think it's quite a comprehensive answer. In any case, we will review the feedback received on this as well.
We have enough time to also explore it here. So I think Ron is still with us. So can you please read out the question and then provide the answer?
I'm afraid I need help from Athanasius here because I'm not able to access the question and answer section. But
sure. Yeah, it says regarding network code cybersecurity, will the templates to perform cybersecurity exercises at entity level be consulted with the stakeholders, such as entities involved in the exercises?
Yeah, that's there I can give a clear answer, which is a full yes. During the development phase, we will make use of public consultation of the stakeholders, as we have done with all methodologies as well as supporting documents. So in short, yes, we will.
Thank you. And apologies for jumping quickly. I also do not see the Q&A session, yeah? So I have to rely on my colleagues. Are there more questions spontaneously or in the chat? Seems not to be the case. Then I have a question. I would be very interested for our audience who had at least one eye-opener or learned something new. Could you please raise your hand if there was something new where that was interesting? Where's to come? Then please raise your hand. Oh, that's a pity. I do not see any raised hand. That means I waste completely your time. In that case, apologies.
Eva,
one.
Eva, I think we cannot raise our hands, but we can react because it's not enabled. So at least
Okay.
from my side, I will raise my thumbs. Yeah.
Okay, I see 2, 3, 4. Okay, great. Some more. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. That's looks much better. Okay, more general feedback, more improvements, things we left out, we could explore in more detail. Something you would like to share with us now. Seems not, then I would say thank you. My general feedback would be please dare to answer more questions. We have enough time. And also, if you read now the annual work program, which is open for consultation, and during reading, if something seems unclear or raises questions, feel free to reach out to us. We will be happy to answer, either in the consultation or alongside the consultation. The floor is yours. Just contact us. Thank you for being here. Big thank you to all my colleagues for the detailed preparation and also for being here on a Friday afternoon to share all that insight. Take care and enjoy working on all our deliverables. Have a nice weekend.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone
Bye.
for joining. Have a good
Bye.
afternoon.